We've got a proven way here at STP of helping our students go up 100 points or more on the digital SAT English sections. Hi guys, Laura Whitmore here, owner of Strategic Test Prep, and I've worked with a lot of international students over the past 6 months since the new SAT came out, and I learned what works and what doesn't work when it comes to prepping for the English portions of the DSAT. So in this video today, I'm going to uncover some very useful tips for you so that you can prep efficiently, maximize your time, and get the most out of the process so you can increase your score and max out. Now, before I share these tips with you, let me put on some glasses so I can look super smart and you can take me very seriously. Tip number 1, when you start prepping for the digital SAT English section, do not take full tests. If you are starting by taking full tests, you are doing it wrong. Okay, so tip number 2, if you're gonna start prepping by like question categories or like one type of question at a time, how do you do that? I'll tell you what not to do. If you're prepping based on the categories College Board gives you, that is the wrong approach. So tip number 3 is going to be to start with these foundational skills. So at Strategic Test Prep, if you come to us and you work with a tutor, or even if you take my online self-paced course, you're gonna start with the basics. We always start with standard English conventions first. Why? Well, because there's a lot of those questions, so they're worth a lot of points. And because it's essential that you understand the basic of like how a sentence is structured, because if you can understand how a sentence is structured, that'll help you understand the bigger picture of how an argument is formulated. So you're gonna wanna start by learning all of the grammar rules and just learning all of the stuff that you need to know for that specific category. From there, the next thing that I would suggest you move into is practicing pinpointing pronouns. What happens on the digital SAT is the text is very dense. What I mean by that is, yeah, there's small paragraphs, which makes it look like they're gonna be easy, right? That is the furthest thing from the truth. There's so much information in the text, in the DSAT, that what College Board tries to do is make you guys get lost in the weeds. They'll use a lot of pronouns like they, it, them, this idea, etc. And then as you're reading, you're like, wait a minute, what is it? What is they? What is them? So it's important that you're able to link these pronouns back to what they're originally referring to so that you can follow the flow of the argument and you do not get lost. The third thing I would recommend that you focus on are words and context questions. For the same reasons as standard English conventions. There's a lot of them, and it's vocabulary building. Guys, you're gonna see words you don't know throughout the entire modules. So if you focus on building your vocabulary, it'll get you better at words and context questions and better at all the other questions at the same time. The last basic skill that you need to work on are transitions. Transitions is also its own category. There's a lot of transition questions that come towards the end, right before the note-taking questions. So not only will it get you more points there, but there are transition words that are throughout the English modules as well. And if you know how a transition word functions, what category it comes from, you'll be able to pinpoint shifts in the tone, changes in the argument. You'll be able to better understand like the flow and structure of a text. So transition questions is essential to doing better overall on the English modules. If you're finding this video helpful so far, show me some love, hit that thumbs up button below, and also make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future content from me to get you. All right guys, for the remainder of this video, I'm gonna give you an idea of some of the foundational skills we work on when we work with our students at STP. So I have a printout for you that you can download. I would definitely recommend you do that. I will link it below and I'll link it right now, right here, so that you can work through it with me. That way you'll grasp it better and you'll understand it better. The first foundational skill we're gonna work on is something from grammar. Now there's a lot of grammar rules, but I've just picked this one out specifically because I notice a lot of students struggle with this. We're gonna talk about lead-ins and their subjects. And let's start with an example. So a lead-in basically is an introduction to a sentence, for instance, like running down the stairs. Now, it's introducing the sentence. You've got an introduction comma here, but the subject has not been introduced yet. The subject will be whatever is running down the stairs. So with the way a sentence is structured, your subject has to come right after the lead-in and right after that intro comma. Make sure the subject makes sense based on what the lead-in is saying. So in this case, I look at it, if the subject is the little girl, that makes sense to me because I know a little girl can be running down the stairs. Let's take a look at a few examples together. If I said arguably the most influential artwork of the Renaissance period, what would be the subject here? Go ahead and pick one. Well, we're looking for the most influential artwork. It wouldn't be Michelangelo, he's an artist. It wouldn't be the David shape, because that's a shape, that's not an artwork. It has to be the David. If I said, as the country with the most megacities in the world, would you pick China's population, people in China, or China? Absolutely, you're gonna pick China because the intro said as the country. So we're talking about the specific country, China's gotta be the subject. Lastly, if I said sneaking down the chimney in the middle of the night, what would you pick there? Well, Santa's excitement wouldn't sneak down the chimney, neither would the presents. The subject has to be Santa. So take a look at this number 26. This is from a digital SAT. Give this a try. All right, let's go over it together. Hopefully you paused the video and gave yourself some time. If the lead-in says, despite being cheap, versatile, and easy to produce, well, the problems wouldn't be the subject because problems aren't cheap, easy, and versatile, right? So that eliminates A and B. C actually is still talking about the problems because the subject would be commercial plastics 2 associated problems. That doesn't work. So the only subject that makes sense is the plastics themselves. So that's lead-ins. Keep an eye out for that. That comes up on every test at least once, so you want to be ready for that. The next fundamental deals with pinpointing pronouns. So I'm going to give you 2 examples here. The first one is dealing with a pronoun that's linked to an abstract noun. For those of you that don't know, an abstract noun is basically a noun that you can't see, touch, feel, taste, smell, right? It's like intangible. So let's take a look at this example. It says, in a step toward creating robots capable of spontaneous learning, a new approach has expanded training data sets for robots that work in cluttered environments. Developed by Dimitri Berenson and Peter Lozano, doctoral students at the University of Michigan, it could cut learning time for new materials and environments down to a few hours rather than a week or 2. Take a minute if you need to pause the video, do it. Try to figure out what the it is referring to. All right, what could cut learning time? Well, it's the new approach. So that was an abstract noun, and that is what the it is referring to. So make sure you get a handle on that so you don't lose sight of the argument. All right, the next one's dealing with a compression noun. So if I say this idea or this experience or these subjects, whatever it is, I'm probably shortening the phrase so that's a compression noun, but it's referring to a longer either sentence or idea or fragment before. So when we take a look at this paragraph, it says the evolution of our communication system from a broadcast model to a network one has added a new dimension to the mix. The internet has made us all less dependent on professional journalists and editors for information about the wider world, allowing us to seek out information directly via online search or to receive it from friends through social media. But this enhanced convenience comes with a considerable risk. Okay, what are they talking about here when they say this enhanced convenience? Can you figure that out? So yes, it is referring to the entire second sentence. So as you can see, this is a very long sentence, and now they're referring to it again by compressing it down into a short phrase. But what is the convenience? Well, they rely less on professional journalists and they're allowed to seek out information directly via online sources. Okay. Our next fundamental is words and context. So there are different strategies for building your vocabulary. At STP, we've got lists of words that are common on the SAT that you should know. We also work on linguistics and being able to break down words and understand their meaning based on their parts. There's other strategies as far as like trying to pinpoint if the word's positive or negative. We're gonna look at something specific here. So in this specific exercise, I want you guys to try to spot the definition of the word in the blank, because the definition or a synonym to the word will be somewhere else in the text. So take a look at number 1. We have former astronaut Ellen Ochoa says that although she doesn't have a definite idea of when it might happen, she blank that humans will someday need to be able to live in other environments than those found on Earth. This conjecture informs her interest in future research missions to the moon. Well, what is our synonym here? This conjecture. Notice it's a compression noun, interesting, but that is it's referring to what the blank is supposed to be. A conjecture is like a hypothesis. You're gonna wanna pick a synonym to conjecture as your answer. In number 2, we have beginning in 1950s, Navajo Nation legislator 𝗙𝗿𝗲𝗲, oof, I butchered that, let's try again. 𝗙𝗿𝗲𝗲 continuously worked to promote public health. This blank effort involved traveling. Okay, here's something interesting. You've got a semicolon. That is super important. If you see any interesting punctuation marks, semicolons, colons, anything like that, hyphens, the chances are the definition is going to come right before it or right after it. Now, if the blank is after it, that means the definition will be somewhere in here before it. And they're describing her effort. So it looks like the synonym is going to be something about how she continuously worked. So maybe you're gonna look for a word that deals with that, like she persevered, her amazing effort, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of a word, which is also a good strategy. Try to think of a word before you look at the words. Not doing a good job with that right now, but you get the point. All right, number 3. Seminole Muskogee director Sterling Harjo blank television's tendency to situate native characters in the distant past. Ooh, we got a colon. So that means since the blank was over here, our definition is going to be on this side. And we have another compression noun. This rejection is describing more about the word in the blank. That's our synonym. So now we know we need a negative word, something that means rejection, and you're good to go. All right, the last fundamental is transitions. Now we definitely like to teach you guys, about the different types of transitions. We go through the different categories. I have a lesson on this in my digital SAT course. And I also cover this with my one-on-one students. So do my tutors on my team. There's a lot to transitions. So I'm just gonna cover one specific strategy with you, which is if you have 4 answer choices and 2 answers are in the same category, make sure to cross those answers off, okay? Get rid of any answer choices that are from the same category, because if they're from the same category and they function the same way, you can't have 2 right answers in multiple choice. So take a look at this number 28 and think about what 2 you would cross off. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and categorize these real quick. So we've got in addition, that's a support. Conversely is a contrast. However is a contrast. And thus is a causation. All right, so that being said, I'm gonna get rid of conversely and however, and now I just need to figure out if it's a support or a causation. All right, guys, if you found this video helpful and you wanna actually dive into this in more detail and follow our curriculum, definitely click the link above and fill out the contact form and we'll be in touch with you so that we can set you up with an amazing tutor on our team that scores a 1500 plus. It can actually go through these lessons with you in an individual capacity and in way more detail so that you can gain mastery. Or if working with a tutor one-on-one isn't your thing, then you can sign up for my digital SAT self-paced course, where you can basically go at your own pace on your own time. Use the promo code 50OFF at checkout, and you'll get $50 off the self-paced course. I will link it up here right now. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you found this video helpful. Until next time, happy prepping.